My sister ran away from her billionaire wedding, and 10 minutes later, I was the one walking down the aisle in her place. She didn't just disappear. She left a note. 3 sentences. I'm sorry. I can't marry someone I don't love. I'm leaving with Daniel. Don't try to find me. The cathedral was packed with senators, investors, and cameras waiting outside for the perfect headline. My parents were seated in the front row, already smiling through nerves. And at the altar stood Adrian Blackwood, America's youngest self-made tech billionaire. A man who built an empire before he turned 35. A man who had never lost control of anything in his life. Until that moment. The whisper started small. Then it spread like fire. The bride is gone. I was standing near the back hallway when his mother stormed toward the bridal suite. She what? The maid of honor was crying. She left through the service entrance. Outside, reporters were already adjusting lenses. This wasn't just heartbreak. This was financial warfare waiting to happen. If the wedding collapsed publicly, Adrian's company stock would plummet before sunrise. Investors would smell instability. Competitors would circle. Olivia hadn't just run away. She had detonated a bomb. And then Adrian turned. Not toward the exit. Not toward his mother. Toward me. His steps were calm. Controlled. Measured. That terrified me more than anger would have. You're her sister, he said. Yes. Marry me. The words didn't feel real. What? Marry me. No emotion. No explanation. Just a decision made with the same composure he used in boardrooms. This is insane. 1 year, he said evenly. Public stability. No scandal. After 12 months we dissolve it quietly. You're proposing a contract at the altar. Yes. I'm not a replacement. His jaw tightened slightly. You're not. Then why me? His eyes locked onto mine in a way that made my pulse spike. Because you won't pretend. Behind him, whispers grew louder. Someone had already started live streaming. My father looked like he might collapse. My mother was pale. Olivia had chosen herself. Like she always did. I had always cleaned up the aftermath. My whole life. I looked back at Adrian. He wasn't desperate. He wasn't humiliated. He was choosing. And somehow that felt heavier than panic. The organ player hesitated. Answer me, he said quietly. If I said no, this wedding would implode in front of the world. If I said yes, my life would belong to a man who didn't love me. Fine, I whispered. The music started again. And this time, it was for me. The walk down the aisle felt unreal. Like I was stepping into someone else's life and borrowing her courage. 200 guests turned to stare. Some shocked. Some thrilled. Some already calculating how this would look in tomorrow's headlines. Adrian stood waiting for me, composed as ever. If he felt humiliated, he didn't show it. If he felt relief, he hid that too. When I reached him, he didn't smile. He simply took my hands. They were warm, steady, certain. The priest stumbled through adjusted vows. My name sounded strange where Olivia's had been rehearsed for months. Do you, Adrian Blackwood, take Madeline Carter? I do. No hesitation. When it was my turn, the entire cathedral seemed to hold its breath. I looked at him. At the man who had just rewritten both our lives in under 5 minutes. I do. The kiss was brief, controlled. But his hand at my waist tightened just slightly, as if sealing something deeper than a contract. The applause was confused but enthusiastic. People loved a dramatic love story. It didn't matter if it was true. Outside, flashes exploded. Inside, my sister's empty bridal suite sat like a ghost. By nightfall, the world knew. Runaway bride vanishes. Billionaire marries sister instead. The internet chose sides instantly. Romantic twist. Calculated betrayal. Secret affair exposed. My phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Friends asking if I'd known. Strangers calling me manipulative. Anonymous accounts calling me worse. The reception blurred into champagne and interrogation. How long has this been going on? Were you two in love all along? Adrian answered smoothly. We've grown close over time. Not a lie. Not the truth either. He didn't leave my side once. When someone muttered, "Poor Olivia," he replied coolly. She made her choice. That line replayed in my mind all night. She made her choice. At midnight, we drove to the Blackwood estate overlooking the harbor. The mansion was all glass and steel and quiet power. Staff greeted us with controlled professionalism, but curiosity flickered in their eyes. This wasn't the bride they'd been briefed on. Inside, the air felt cooler. "You'll have your own suite," Adrian said. "There's no expectation tonight." I let out a brittle laugh. "You're very good at separating emotion from logistics." "It's necessary." "Is it?" His gaze met mine, something unreadable passing through it. "Yes." Silence stretched. "Do you regret it?" I asked softly. "No." The answer came too quickly. "You don't even know if I'll be good at this." "You will." "You sound certain." "I am." I didn't understand his confidence. I didn't understand him. And that unsettled me more than Olivia's betrayal. The first blow came 48 hours later. A photo surfaced online. Me. 6 months ago. At a charity gala. Standing near Adrian. The caption read, "Always lurking." Then another. Then another. Old angles. Cropped to suggest obsession. By noon, trending hashtags called me a gold digger who had plotted for years. I stared at my phone, nausea rising. "I didn't plan this," I said when Adrian walked into his office and found me shaking. "I know." "How?" "Because if you had, you would have prepared better." That almost made me laugh. "You think this is strategic?" "No. This is reactive." "You think it's Olivia?" "Yes." The certainty in his voice chilled me. "She's your ex-fiancé." "She was in agreement." "You keep saying that." "Because it's true." "You never loved her." "No." "Then why marry her?" "She aligned with expectations." "And I don't." He stepped closer. "You disrupt them." His words lingered long after he left for a board meeting. Disrupt wasn't romantic. But it wasn't rejection either. It meant I unsettled him. And powerful men didn't like being unsettled. 3 weeks later, Olivia returned to Boston. Not quietly. Strategically. The Montgomery Foundation Gala glittered with diamonds and old money. I wore silver. She wore red. When she entered the ballroom, whispers spread instantly. She looked radiant. Untouched by scandal. She approached us with a serene smile. "Congratulations, sis." Her hug was brief and cold. She turned to Adrian. "You look content." "I am." His voice didn't waver. Her smile tightened for a fraction of a second. Then she leaned close enough that I could hear. "Be careful," she whispered to him. "She's always wanted what's mine." That old narrative again. The jealous sister. The shadow. For once I didn't swallow it. "You left," I said calmly. "I stayed." A few nearby donors pretended not to listen. Phones subtly lifted. Olivia's eyes flashed. "You really think he chose you?" "I did," Adrian answered before I could. "Clear. Public. Final." The room went still. That moment should have ended it. Instead, it escalated everything. A week later, private emails leaked online. Supposedly between Adrian and Olivia after the wedding. Regretful. Emotional. Intimate. Even I felt a flicker of doubt reading them. "Tell me they're fake," I demanded that night. "They are." "You swear." "I haven't spoken to her outside legal communication." His voice was steel. But poison works slowly. And Olivia understood that better than anyone. 2 months into the marriage, something changed. I fainted at breakfast. One moment I was reaching for my coffee. The next, everything went black. I woke up in a hospital room. Adrian was standing beside the bed. And for the first time since I'd known him, he looked shaken. The doctor smiled gently. "Congratulations. You're pregnant." The word echoed. Pregnant. My hand moved instinctively to my stomach. Adrian didn't speak. He just stared at me like the world had shifted under his feet. When the doctor left, silence wrapped around us. "This complicates things," I whispered. "There is no contract." "What?" "I voided it weeks ago." "You didn't tell me." "I was waiting." "For what?" "For you to choose me without obligation." Tears burned behind my eyes. "I don't know how to do this." "We learn." His voice wasn't controlled anymore. It was honest. And scared. For the first time, this felt real. Not strategic. Not reactive. Real. 2 days later, Olivia went on national television. She wore white, soft makeup, tearful eyes. "I was pressured into leaving," she said shakily. "And I was pregnant when I did." My blood ran cold. Adrian's phone exploded within seconds. Investors panicked. The board demanded emergency meetings. And then Olivia looked directly into the camera. The baby was his. The world didn't just stop. It turned against us. The world didn't just turn against us. It devoured us. Within hours, every major outlet ran the same headline. Runaway bride claims billionaire's secret baby. Stock prices dipped before the market even opened. Commentators debated morality like it was entertainment. Talk shows replayed Olivia's tearful interview on loop. I sat in the living room of the Blackwood estate, the television muted but flashing her face over and over again. She looked fragile, convincing, calculated. Adrian stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear, voice low and lethal. "No statements until we verify." A pause. "No, we don't attack publicly yet." Another pause. "Yes, schedule the emergency board meeting." He ended the call and finally looked at me. "She's lying," he said. I nodded automatically, but fear doesn't listen to logic. "What if people believe her?" I asked. "They already do." That honesty hurt more than comfort would have. He walked toward me slowly. "I have not touched your sister since before the engagement party," he said clearly. "There is no child." "You're sure?" "Yes." The certainty in his voice steadied me. But this wasn't just about truth. It was about optics. And optics were fragile. The next 48 hours were chaos. Investors demanded proof. Board members hinted at reputational risk. Anonymous insiders claimed there had been tension between Adrian and Olivia before the wedding. The narrative twisted into something ugly. Billionaire abandons pregnant fiancé for her sister. I stopped leaving the house. Not because Adrian asked me to, because I couldn't breathe under the weight of it. Every comment online cut deeper than the last. Homewrecker. Gold digger. Baby thief. Adrian moved through crisis mode like a machine. But at night, when the calls stopped and the house went quiet, I could see the strain in his shoulders. "She wants a reaction," he said one evening. "She wants to break us. She wants leverage. And if she's really pregnant?" He looked at me sharply. "She's not. You can't know that." He stepped closer. "I do." Something in his tone made me believe him. But belief didn't silence fear. 3 days later, Olivia's lawyer filed paperwork demanding paternity acknowledgement. Publicly, strategically, the media frenzy intensified. I watched from the top of the staircase as Adrian read the legal notice. His face didn't change, but his hand tightened slightly around the document. "She's escalating beyond strategy," he said quietly. "What does that mean?" "It means she's desperate. And desperate people are dangerous." "Yes." The next morning, Adrian called a press conference. I tried to convince him not to. "This is what she wants." "She wants control," he replied. "I don't give control." The conference room was packed. Cameras, reporters, investors watching remotely. Adrian stepped to the podium, composed as ever. "There have been allegations made publicly regarding a pregnancy," he began evenly. "I categorically deny them." Murmurs spread. "I have not had any relationship with Olivia Carter since prior to the wedding. However, in the interest of transparency, I have requested a court-ordered DNA test." Gasps. "If a child exists and if I am proven to be the father, I will take full responsibility." He paused. "But I will not allow false accusations to manipulate markets or families." The room erupted in questions. He didn't answer them. He walked away. Control reclaimed. For now. That night, I found him in his office staring at nothing. "You offered responsibility," I said softly. "Yes. Even though you're sure." "Yes." "Why?" "Because if I'm wrong, I won't run." The contrast between him and Olivia hit me hard. She had run. He stood. I stepped closer. "What if this destroys your company?" "It won't." "You can't promise that." He looked at me, something raw flickering in his eyes. "I can promise this." He reached for my hand, placing it gently over my stomach. I will not let her destroy my family. Family. The word changed everything. The court expedited the DNA test. Olivia delayed twice. Claimed stress complications. Claimed medical scheduling conflicts. Public sympathy shifted slightly. Then something happened none of us expected. A paparazzi photo surfaced. Olivia leaving a private clinic. But not an obstetric clinic. A cosmetic surgery center. The timeline didn't match her pregnancy claim. Adrian's legal team moved fast. They subpoenaed medical records. Olivia fought it. The court overruled her. 3 days later, the truth detonated. There was no pregnancy. There had never been one. The televised tears. The interviews. The legal filings. All fabricated. The backlash was brutal. Public sympathy evaporated overnight. Fraud. Manipulation. Market interference. Olivia released a written apology blaming emotional distress. It was too late. But humiliation didn't stop her. It only made her reckless. A week after the DNA results cleared Adrian publicly, I received a message from an unknown number. Meet me alone if you want this to stop. No signature. But I knew. I didn't tell Adrian. I should have. Instead, I drove to the address. An old waterfront property our family used to visit when we were children. She was waiting inside. Olivia looked thinner. Harder. You look tired, she said casually. You lied about a child. You stole my life. You left. You think he loves you? I didn't answer. She stepped closer. He was supposed to be mine. You didn't want him. I wanted what he represented. There it was. Not love. Power. You were always content with scraps, she continued. I'm not. This isn't about him, I said quietly. It's about losing. Her expression snapped. You think you won? No, I whispered. I think you're scared. Her hand moved so fast I barely saw it. She shoved me. Hard. I stumbled backward, losing balance near the edge of the wooden dock. My foot slipped. Water rushed up toward me. But before I hit it, strong arms caught me. Adrian. His grip was iron. His eyes were something I had never seen before. Fury. Don't, he said to Olivia, voice dangerously quiet. For the first time in her life she looked afraid. You followed me, I whispered. I don't gamble with your safety. He had tracked my phone. Not for control. For protection. Olivia backed away slowly. This isn't over, she said. Adrian didn't respond. He simply pulled me into his chest, holding me like I might disappear. And in that moment something shifted permanently. This wasn't damage control anymore. This wasn't strategy. This was love. And Olivia had just crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. Adrian didn't say a word on the drive home. His hand never left mine. Not possessive. Not performative. Protective. I could still feel the shock of the dock under my feet, the cold rush of fear when I lost balance. If he hadn't been there. I pressed my palm against my stomach instinctively. He noticed. His jaw tightened. When we reached the estate, security was doubled within minutes. Calls were made. Lawyers were contacted. Restraining order paperwork began moving before midnight. You shouldn't have gone alone, he said finally once we were inside his office. I know. That wasn't a suggestion. It was reckless. I didn't want you escalating things. She shoved you near open water. His voice wasn't raised. It was worse. It was controlled anger. You're pregnant. The word hit differently now. Not complicated. Not strategic. Sacred. I didn't think she'd go that far, I whispered. She will go as far as she needs to avoid losing. Silence settled between us. You followed me, I said softly. I had security track the number that messaged you. You didn't trust me. I didn't trust her. That answer dismantled something fragile inside me. He stepped closer. I will lose contracts, he said quietly. I will lose investors. I will not lose you. The simplicity of it broke me. This man who had built an empire from nothing was willing to risk it. For me. For our child. I don't want you choosing between us and your company, I said. I already did. The restraining order went public within 48 hours. So did the dock footage. There had been security cameras along the pier, old ones but functional. The video showed Olivia's shove clearly. It wasn't ambiguous. It wasn't accidental. The public narrative flipped violently. From tragic runaway bride to unstable aggressor. Talk shows dissected her behavior. Legal analysts discussed potential assault charges. Her apology tour stopped overnight. But desperation breeds escalation. 2 nights later, Adrian received a call from the board. They wanted distance. Not from Olivia. From me. This instability is linked to the Carter family. One member stated bluntly during the virtual meeting. Your marriage created volatility. Investors are nervous. Perhaps a temporary separation would restore confidence. I was standing just outside his office when I heard it. Temporary separation. From me. From us. For stock stability. Adrian didn't hesitate. My marriage is not a variable in your quarterly report, he said evenly. With respect. No. The silence that followed was icy. If you believe my personal life compromises this company, you are welcome to vote me out. A stunned pause. You would risk leadership over this? Yes. He ended the call. Just like that. When he stepped into the hallway and saw me standing there, his expression softened. You heard. Yes. You should know, he said calmly. I'm prepared to walk away. From everything? From anything that threatens my family. Family. The word grounded me again. You built this from scratch, I whispered. I can build again. That was when I understood something crucial. Adrian Blackwood wasn't powerful because of his company. He was powerful because he wasn't afraid to lose it. Olivia was charged with misdemeanor assault within a week. Her legal team tried to argue emotional distress. The judge wasn't sympathetic. Our parents called repeatedly. My mother cried. My father asked if we could keep this quiet. Quiet. Like silence had ever protected us. I agreed to meet them. At a neutral cafe. Adrian insisted on coming. Olivia arrived late. No red dress this time. No calculated glamour. She looked tired. Smaller. Anger had replaced elegance. You pressed charges, she said flatly. You pushed me, I replied. I didn't mean to. You did. Silence stretched across the table. Our parents avoided eye contact. You always needed attention, Olivia muttered. I exhaled slowly. No. I just stopped accepting crumbs. Her eyes flicked to my stomach. You think this makes you untouchable? It makes me careful. Adrian's hand settled at my back. Not ownership. Support. You lost, she whispered, voice trembling now. You weren't supposed to win. It wasn't about him. It was about victory. And losing had fractured her. This was never a competition, I said softly. It was for me. That was the most honest thing she'd said in months. She stood abruptly and walked out. And this time she didn't look back. Months passed. The legal case resolved quietly with probation and mandatory counseling. Public interest faded. Markets stabilized. The board backed down when they realized Adrian's threat to step down wasn't a bluff. And slowly the house began to feel warmer. He attended every prenatal appointment. Not because he had to. Because he wanted to. He read parenting books late at night, pretending he wasn't. He assembled the crib himself, refusing staff assistance. You're very intense about this, I teased once. He looked up from the instruction manual. I don't do anything halfway. You proposed to me halfway. His lips twitched. I don't think that was halfway. He was right. That altar moment hadn't been panic. It had been instinct. One evening, as the sun set over the harbor, I found him in the nursery, just standing there. What are you thinking? I asked. That I almost married the wrong sister. I leaned against the doorway. You didn't love her. No. Why not? He turned to me. Because she saw what I owned. And me. You saw what I hid. My throat tightened. And what was that? Loneliness. The honesty in his voice undid me. I didn't mean to fall in love with you, he continued quietly. It was supposed to be strategic. It wasn't. No. He stepped closer. And I'm grateful she ran. That truth settled between us. Not cruel. Just real. Us. Months later, we returned to the same cathedral. Not for damage control. Not for reputation. For vows. Real ones. No cameras. No board members. Just family. When I walked down the aisle this time, it wasn't rushed. It wasn't reactive. It was chosen. Adrian didn't wait for the priest to prompt him. I married you to stop a scandal, he said honestly. But I stayed because you are the only person who has ever made me feel seen. My eyes burned. You disrupted everything I built, he continued softly. And I've never been more grateful. When it was my turn, I didn't hesitate. I thought I was stepping into my sister's life, I said. But I found my own. He kissed me like there was no audience. Because there wasn't. Outside, the city moved on. Stocks rose and fell. Headlines changed. Olivia faded from the front pages. But inside that cathedral, none of that mattered. My sister ran away from her billionaire wedding. And in trying to win something she never truly wanted, she gave me everything I didn't know I deserved. And this time, when the music played, it was never about survival. It was about forever. The lawsuit hit at 6:12 a.m. Fraud. Breach of contract. Corporate manipulation. Olivia wasn't just attacking Adrian anymore. She was trying to destroy him. I found him in his office before sunrise, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, reading the documents with the same calm focus he'd had at the altar months ago. They're claiming I manipulated the engagement to inflate stock confidence, he said flatly. That's ridiculous. It doesn't have to be true. It just has to trend. My stomach tightened. The baby shifted inside me, as if reacting to my stress. They'll drag you through court. Yes. And the pregnancy? He finally looked at me. They don't know. Olivia didn't know either. And she would use it if she did. By noon, every financial outlet was running variations of the same headline. Billionaire CEO's bride swap was corporate deception? I didn't panic. I'd learned something since that cathedral. Adrian didn't play defense. He built traps. You knew she'd escalate, I said quietly. Yes. You were waiting. He closed the file and stood. I never sign a contract without reading the fine print. That was when he told me. The prenup Olivia had signed months before the wedding, the one she never read carefully, contained a clause. If either party engaged in deliberate public defamation that harmed company valuation, they forfeited all settlement rights and became financially liable for damages. And she had just filed a lawsuit accusing him of intentional market manipulation, which meant discovery, which meant her messages, her transfers, her conversations with Daniel, and the competitor CEO she'd been secretly meeting. She hadn't just run away for love. She'd been promised a payout to destabilize him. My sister hadn't detonated a bomb. She had been the bomb. And she just triggered her own destruction. The court proceedings were brutal. Evidence rolled out like a slow public execution. Encrypted chats between Olivia and Daniel. Wire transfers tied to a rival tech firm. Promises of equity in exchange for maximum reputational damage. The courtroom was silent the day the judge read the preliminary ruling. Olivia's claims were dismissed. Her assets frozen pending counter-litigation. Daniel subpoenaed. And the defamation clause activated. She wasn't just losing. She was financially ruined. When she turned and saw me sitting beside Adrian, her face twisted with something I'd never seen before. Not rage. Not jealousy. Fear. After court, she tried to approach me. You think he loves you, she hissed. You were a placeholder. I looked down at my stomach. 6 months now. He'd felt the baby kick for the first time 2 nights ago. His expression had changed in a way I'd never seen, not strategic, not controlled. Soft. He chose me, I said quietly. And he's still choosing me. For the first time in our lives, I wasn't standing in her shadow. She had gambled everything on control. And lost. The birth wasn't dramatic. No chaos. No paparazzi. Just a private hospital wing and Adrian holding my hand like he was anchoring himself to the earth. When our daughter cried for the first time, he exhaled like he'd been holding his breath since the cathedral. She has your eyes, he murmured. No, I whispered. She has yours. He shook his head. She has ours. That was the first time he said it like that. Ours. Not contract. Not arrangement. Not strategy. Family. A year after the wedding, the press gathered again. But this time it wasn't scandal. It was a foundation launch. Adrian stood at the podium, announcing a Women in Tech investment fund in our daughter's name. Reporters asked the question they'd been dying to ask. Mr. Blackwood, your contract marriage has officially passed the 1-year mark. Is the divorce proceeding? He looked at me, then at the baby in my arms, then back at the cameras. I don't remember signing a divorce. The crowd laughed lightly, but he didn't. He stepped down from the podium, walked toward me and took my free hand. Our marriage began as a solution to a crisis, he said clearly into the microphone still hovering nearby. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being temporary. The reporters froze. Stock tickers would explode again. But not from scandal. From stability. He looked at me, not the cameras. You once asked why you. My heart skipped. It was never convenience, he continued quietly. It was instinct. And now, he said, brushing his thumb gently across our daughter's cheek, it's choice. The applause behind us was thunderous. But all I heard was him. Olivia watched the broadcast from a small apartment across the city, her lawsuit debts still pending. She had wanted the empire. She had wanted the power. She had wanted the billionaire. But she underestimated something simple. He didn't want the spotlight. He wanted loyalty. And she had never understood the difference. That night, after the gala, after the cameras, after the world quieted, it was just us. Our daughter asleep in the next room. The city glowing beyond the glass walls. No more contracts, I said softly. He nodded. No more exit dates. He slid his hand into mine. Only beginnings. And this time, when I looked at him, it wasn't strategy. It wasn't survival. It wasn't sister rivalry. It was love. Real. Earned. Chosen. If you believe loyalty always wins in the end, comment loyalty below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more billionaire stories where karma never misses.